Hello everyone. In this particular session I will discuss about the geographical information system. These are the contents which are to be discussed in this particular session. Now, Dr. Roger Tomlinson is generally recognized as the father of GIS. He was working as a photo interpreter for Spartan Air Services in Canada. They had a contract to identify the best location for a tree plantation in Kenya. Then they turned to their young geographer Tomlinson and asked him to develop a methodology. Basically, Roger Tomlinson was a geographer. Then he tried various manual methods for overlaying various environmental, cultural, and economic variables, but all were too costly. Why? Because all the analysis that he had taken were manual. Then he turned to computers and found the solution. So this was the history of evolution of GIS. So GIS stands for Geographical Information System. It is defined as an integral tool capable of mapping, analyzing, manipulating, and storing geographical data in order to provide solutions to the real world problems and help in planning for the future. So this is the brief definition of GIS system. Suppose if you are using the geometrical coordinate system, for example, if there is a line which is having the coordinates x1 y1 x2 y2, now if in case this line has to be extended beyond the origin like this, it may fall in the negative coordinates system, or it may follow the negative coordinates. Then the entire problem becomes too complex to analyze. So instead of this geometric coordinate system, if you use geographic coordinate system, so then it is very much easier to understand. It becomes very much easier to understand the given problem. So this is the real importance of the geographic information system. So GIS deals with what and where component of occurrences. For example, if there is a particular location where the traffic jam is quite common, or it is nothing but oftenly that particular place is subjected to traffic jam. So this traffic jam problem, traffic jam problem, which is to overcome this traffic jam problem, government may propose a flyover in that particular stretch. So here in this particular condition, the location at which the traffic jam is happening is where component, and the flyover is nothing but, or a building up of a flyover is nothing but what component. So these are some of the objectives of GIS. So first one is nothing but maximizing the efficiency of planning and decision making, integrating the information from multiple sources. That means we are using here the data captured from various sources. Maybe it is the aerial photogrammetry, maybe it is remote sense data, maybe the data obtained from the ground survey, maybe the data obtained from the GPS, etc. All together we are integrating in the GIS system. So then third one, facilitating complex querying and analysis. And fourth one, eliminating redundant data. That means the data which is not useful, we have to eliminate it, and minimizing duplication. So So these are some of the objectives of GIS system. Then coming to the components of a GIS system, there are several components in the GIS system, namely the the data which is to be captured, then the hardware, then the software to analyze, then various methods of analysis and interpretation, then comes the people who takes the. So in the components of GIS system, the first one is nothing but the hardware. Hardware consists of the equipments and support devices that are required to capture, store, process, and visualize the geographic information. This may include the computer with the hard disk, digitizers, scanners, printers, and plotters. So all those computer accessories, so which are to be considered as the hardware component. The second one is nothing but the software. It is nothing but the heart of a GIS system. The GIS software must have the basic capabilities of data input, storage, transformation, analysis, and providing desired outputs. So there may be different software packages which are available nowadays. The popular software packages that are being used are ArcGIS, QGIS, etc. Then the next component is nothing but the data. The data is captured or collected from various sources. Maybe maps, maybe from field observations, maybe from photogrammetry or photography, or maybe satellite imagery, etc., etc. And these data which are collected are processed for analysis and presentation purpose. Next, the procedure or the methods. So these include the methods or ways by which the data has to be input into the system, retrieved, processed, transformed, and presented. So all those collectively called as the methods or the procedure. Then finally the people. These components of GIS includes all those individuals such as programmer, database manager, GIS researcher, etc., who are making the GIS work or who takes the benefit of the GIS system, and also the individuals who are at the user end using the GIS services, applications, and tools. So all those stakeholders are there in this particular component. So this collectively called as components of GIS. The next one is nothing but the process required to build the GIS models. So the process which are followed here in this GIS system, first one is nothing but the data capture. The second one is nothing but the data compilation. The third one is nothing but the data storage. And the fourth one is nothing but the manipulation. And fifth one is nothing but the analysis. So here you can see those steps involved in this process: data capture, data compilation, data storage, manipulation, and analysis. So these steps which are to be followed in order to obtain a systematic and efficient GIS system. Now we'll go through these steps one by one. First one is nothing but the data capture. Data used in this GIS system, geographical information system, often comes from various sources, maybe from manual digitization and scanning process of aerial photographs, paper maps, and existing digital data sets, remote sensing satellite imagery, and GPS, These are some of the important data input sources for the GIS system. The term digitization here is the conversion process which converts the paper maps into numerical digits that can be stored in the computer. Furthermore, digitizing simplifies the map data into sets of points, lines, polygons, cells that can be stored very easily in the GIS computer or GIS system or a database. There are two basic methods of digitization, namely manual digitizing and scanning. The second step is nothing but data compilation. After the completion of a digitization process, the user completes the compilation process by relating all the spatial features to their respective attributes. Attributes in the sense their characteristics. And if any errors are there which are produced as a result of data conversion process, that can be rectified here. So that is in this particular stage takes place. So that is nothing but data compilation process. So once the data compilation process is completed, the end result is nothing but a set of digital files which are accurately representing all of the spatial and attribute data of interest contained on the original map manuscripts. So these are nothing but the outcomes of compilation process. These digital files contain geographic coordinates for spatial objects, maybe in the form of points, lines, polygons and cells that represent the mapped features. So this is regarding the data compilation stage. Third one is nothing but the data storage. So once the data have been digitally compiled, digital map files in the GIS are to be stored on the magnetic or any other source of digital media. Nowadays the digital media is more used for this storage purpose. The data storage is mainly based on a generic data model that is used to convert the map data into a digital form. The two most commonly used data models are raster and vector. So the meaning of these raster and vector models that I had already explained in the remote sensing, so that you can go through. Then the next stage is nothing but manipulation, data manipulation. So once the data are stored in the GIS system, many manipulations which may be necessary. So accordingly, manipulation options are also available to the users in the form of toolkits. So a toolkit is nothing but it is a set of generic functions that enables the user to manipulate and analyze the geographic data. Toolkits provide the processing functions such as data retrieval, measuring area and perimeter, overlaying maps, performing map algebra and reclassifying map data. So we can measure the area and perimeter, we can overlay the maps one over the other, so depending upon the spatial features which are there in the problem. Then we can merge the maps also, that is called as map algebra, or any portion if it is not required, so we can discard that one also, and reclassify the map data. So we can reclassify the map data according as per our requirement also. So this is regarding the basic functions which are performed by the toolkit option there. Then the data manipulation tools include coordinate change, projections and edge matching, which also allow a GIS to reconcile irregularities, reconcile in the sense re-establish the relationship between the map layers or adjacent map sheets called tiles. So these are the main functions which takes place in the case of manipulation stage. The next one is nothing but analysis. The heart of GIS is the analytical capabilities of the system. The analysis functions use the spatial and non-spatial attributes in the database to answer the questions about the real world. The geographic analysis facilitates the study of real world processes by developing and applying the models. And such models which eliminate the underlying trends in geographic data and thus make new information available. So these are regarding the analysis. So here in this analysis process, mainly the spatial and non-spatial attributes in the database which are to be used here, and we have to analyze based on the real world conditions and the problems in our hand. So that is regarding the analysis stage. So now we will discuss about the various data types used in GIS. So that mainly there are two data types which are to be used in a GIS system. So which is nothing but the first one is spatial data, which is corresponding to where component, and the second one is nothing but attribute data or non-spatial data corresponding to what component. So that I had explained with the example initially. So where component and what component. Where component, it refers to the spatial data, and what component refers to the attribute data or non-spatial data. So here the spatial data describes the absolute and relative location of the geographic features. For example, maybe road, restaurant, gas station. So with the coordinates, so we can describe the absolute and relative location of these surface features. On the other hand, the attribute data which describes the characteristics of the spatial features. These characteristics can be the quantitative or qualitative in nature. For example, one-way streets, speed limits, traffic congestions, census data, etc., etc. Those comes under the category of attribute data. So here the descriptive data types also can be stored in the database table or obtained from the reports, statistical analysis, etc. So these are regarding the two data types which are frequently used in the GIS system. Now we will try to understand the geospatial data. So the geospatial, the meaning is nothing but any data that is indicated by or related to a geographic location is termed as geospatial data. The data which is indicated by or related to any geographic location, so that is called as geospatial data. So this geospatial data, it is purely a locational information which is connected to a data set, maybe such as address, city code or zip code, street address, etc. So this is regarding some of the examples which I had given here. So geospatial data can also comes from global positioning system, satellite imagery, telematic devices, for example vehicle tracking devices, Internet of Things, and geotagging. So these are some of the sources from which the geospatial data which can be collected. So for the example for this geospatial data, it is nothing but the map data for vehicle navigation, distribution network information for the power, telephone, water supply, sewage, etc. So those are nothing but the geospatial data. So this is regarding the important characteristic features of the geospatial data. So here as an example, I have taken here the gridded population of the continents. So it is nothing but Asian continent. So I have taken here. So there you can have the different color scales which are marked across this particular portion. So these different color codes resembles the population density. For example, this white colored cell or the block indicates 0 persons per square kilometers. Again, the second category indicates 1 to 4 persons per kilometer square. Again, the third scale, color scale indicates 5 to 24. Again, the increasing order you can observe. So this is regarding the spatial data, geospatial data. So which I had taken, so the population density in Asia. So geospatial data which exists in either one of these formats. Maybe it is a vector or raster. So vector data is nothing but what which uses the geometric shapes to show the location and shape of the geographic features. Maybe points, lines and polygons, dots, etc. can represent the things like cities, roads and waterways, etc. Whereas the raster data represents through a digital image such as scanned map or photograph. It also includes the aerial and satellite imagery. Furthermore, it uses a cell-based format, so that means the scan lines, the rows and columns. Columns are nothing but pixels, so which are oftenly indicated here. So the spatial analysis depends heavily on the raster data sets. So moreover, for our spatial analysis we use the raster data sets. So we can observe here the difference between the vector data and raster data. You can also go through the previous sessions video to understand the difference between the vector data and the raster data. Now here the important process which is used or which is taken up in the geographic information system, which is nothing but overlay analysis. So the data layers, different data layers are there, individual data layers you can observe here, and finally we can able to integrate all those individual and we can observe the complete geospatial information in the form of an integrated data. So now here, for example, the street data, the map which indicates only the details of the street which is shown here. The buildings data, the map indicated here, it is nothing but including the positions or the locations of the buildings, maybe it is a residential, commercial, whatever it may be. Then the third one is nothing but the vegetation data. So there you can observe number of trees, plantation, parks, etc. So there you can get the vegetation or vegetative cover on that particular area. Altogether, if you integrate, you are going to get the complete picture of the entire area, including the details of the streets, including the vegetation, plus the building data you can able to observe. So you can analyze the entire problem. Say it is nothing but, for example, the road has to be established in this particular area, then we can able to know where are the residential or commercial buildings, so where we have to connect, or where, for example, the forest area is there, so where the cuttings are possible, or which particular sites useful for the development of our highway or the construction of the highway, that we can able to easily analyze with the help of this overlay analysis. So again, additionally, I have taken another example here. There is a map which is shown here. So individual data layers have been created here by taking the information of rivers, information of lakes, information or the geographic areas. So that is nothing but the states, different states with their boundary, then road connectivity, then city locations, so which is also prepared here. So these individual data layers can be integrated finally. So here, to view the entire map in different perspective, which is required as per our problem definition. So this is regarding the important application of geographic information system. So then comes the geospatial analysis. So far we discussed about the geospatial data. So now we will try to discuss, or we will try to understand the geospatial analysis. So geospatial analysis is nothing but it is a collection or gathering, display and manipulation of imagery, GPS, satellite photography and historical data described especially in terms of geographic coordinates, completely in terms of a street address, postal code or forest land identifier, as they are applied to geographic models. So this is the meaning of geospatial analysis. So this geospatial analysis is nothing but an iterative process. So that is nothing but repeatedly we have to take this geospatial analysis before we start manipulating our data. The questions may change after exploring the available data and learning about the possible analysis and visualization. So depending upon this, we may have to go for more number of steps. So that is nothing but repeatedly. So that is called as iterative process. So in a GIS, each data set is managed as a layer and can be graphically combined using analytical operators called overlay analysis. So in the previous slide, the same overlay analysis I had explained with some of the examples. By combining or by integrating all those layers, so we can able to explore the critically important questions and find answers to those questions. So this is regarding the importance of overlay analysis. So we can also view the geospatial analysis as it is a process in which an analyst model problems geographically, derive the results by computer processing, and then explore and examine those results. So this is regarding the brief explanation about the geospatial analysis. So first we will acquire the geospatial data and analyze the geospatial data by performing the overlay analysis, then integrate all those data and process it and present in a specific manner. So that is nothing but the presentation of geospatial data. So that is regarding the geospatial analysis. So geospatial analysts filter out relevant from irrelevant data. So whatever it is required data, only we can retain, and the remaining unnecessary data we can discard here and apply it to the conceptualization process, and we can visualize the order hidden within the apparent disorder of the geographically sorted data. So which I will explain with the some of the examples in the next slides. So what are the how the orders which are going to be maintained during our overlay analysis. So this sorting, or it is nothing but ordering, which allows them, that means analyst, to provide accurate trend analysis, modeling and predictions. So however, the analyst must remain vigilant, so to try to avoid spatial falsies, that means false reasoning or misbelief, or maybe biases or misunderstanding effects and casual relationships. So these uh, problems or these important aspects has to be avoided. So now here we will try to understand the analysis which is carried out in the geographical information system with the help of a simple case study. The first example of linking the what component with the where component takes us all the way back to 1854 and a cholera outbreak. At that time, people believed that the disease was being spread through the air. But an enterprising English doctor, Dr. John Snow, wasn't convinced. So he decided to map the outbreak locations, the roads, and the property boundaries, and the water pumps. And when he did, he made a startling discovery. A pattern was emerged, and this pattern proved that the disease was not in fact airborne but was being communicated via water, and even more specifically by one infected water pump. So this analysis, which was carried by Dr. John Snow, is taken as one of the best case study in the context of GIS. So the entire analysis which was carried by Dr. John Snow, which is indicated here. Initially, he collected the details about the streets and the location of the pumps, residential population, and number of deaths. So you can see here in this particular image that the street details are there, as well as the blue dots indicates that the location of the water pump, and the red dots indicate that the cholera death, number of cholera deaths in that particular area, that is Soha city of London. He also prepared the map integrating the position of the water pumps, number of active cases and number of deaths also, as well as he also integrated another map here, so that is number of persons who are living near to the active cases also. So this ultimately he integrated all these individual maps and finally prepared an overlay map, so which is called as kernel's density estimate map. So simply it is also known as the heat map. So from the heat map it was observed that the central portion, this red colored zone, was severely affected by cholera outbreak. So then he visited that particular area and contacted many people who lived there, and he collected the informations also by conducting a questionnaire survey. Then he came to conclusion that, or he came to notice that a woman who lived at this particular location, whose child who had contracted cholera from some other source. The child's mother washed the baby's diapers in water, which she then dumped into a leaky cesspool just 3 feet from the Broad Street pump, which is nothing but this particular pump. Touching of what Snow called the most terrible outbreak of cholera which ever occurred in this kingdom. That means in the London, in London. So this was finally interpreted by Dr. John Snow. So the interesting fact from his analysis is nothing but, if this is this analysis, entire analysis, which nowadays also we can use this to control the epidemic diseases. So this particular image is very much important. So that tells you the number of people who are living there near to the active cases. So in that particular condition, we can isolate these particular persons from the infected person. So there it becomes, or it reduces the chances of expansion of this outbreak to the further extent. So that is regarding the very important application, as well as secondly, it is nothing but the source of the outbreak also, which can be predicted very accurately with this information, with this overlay analysis. So this is the simple illustration or the case study which we can take here in the geographic information system in order to understand with the various analysis and the various inputs which are to be carried, and the way of sorting or ordering these different or individual layers in order to get the useful outcome. So this is regarding one of the important illustration. And the next one is nothing but the integration of remote sensing with GIS. So as we know now, GIS is usually widely used for storage and analysis of georeferenced data, and also this system handles the linkage, that is relationship between the spatial entities and their discrete attributes. GIS systems have become accepted as a standard way of handling geographic data and performing analysis on those data for number of earth related disciplines. The volume of remote sensing is also so large. So remote sensing field is also, it is widely spread. Various application or numerous applications we can find in the case of the remote sensing also, and its associated powerful image processing technology, which is used to manage geo information with pre-processing analysis, accuracy assessment, and information distribution. Furthermore, with the advancement in the technology, we can able to get the high resolution satellite imagery of a particular area, and also the modernized processing technologies, with the help of which the integration of digital image analyzing systems with advanced GIS systems, which permits ultimately the composting data sources. Composting in the sense combining the data sources, as well as promoting a partnership between man and machine. Furthermore, a GIS, when combining with the up-to-date remote sensing data, when we combine the GIS data or GIS information with the up-to-date remote sensing data, which could assist in the automated interpretation. So that means the interpretation becomes much easier, because the resolution of the image will be higher, and it is integrated with the geographic information system. So change detection is also very much easier in that particular condition, and map revision process also becomes much simpler. Satellite data offer repetitive, synoptic and accurate information of the Earth's surface, and as such offer the potential to monitor the dynamic changes with the GIS. So this is regarding the importance of doing the integration of remote sensing with the GIS. That means when we combine the remote sensing with the GIS, so put together, so we can get the maximum benefit from it. An example which is showing the integration of remote sensing with the GIS, that is the application part, so which is indicated here at this end. So agricultural resource management, for this particular application, this integration was used. So satellite data provide a real-time assessment of the crop condition. We can combine the GIS and remote sensing data and can derive the distributed data such as sowing dates, irrigation practices, soil properties, depth to groundwater, and water quality as inputs in exploring water management options. This particular approach was used in Kaithal of Haryana during 2000-2001 dry season. So this is one of the example or the illustration which can tell us about the integration of remote sensing with the geographic information system. The next is nothing but what can we do with the GIS. So that means what are the important application areas where this GIS can be effectively used. So there are numerous uses or numerous ways in which this GIS can be effectively used. So first one is nothing but the location of features and their relationships to other features. Second one, where the most and or least of some features exists, that we can find out. The density of features in a given space, that also can be estimated. What is happening inside a study area or area of interest, that also uh, which can be observed. What is happening nearby some features or phenomenon, that is also can be observed here, as well as how a specific area has changed over time and in what way. This is also which can be studied or viewed in a better way by using this geographic information system. Now we will discuss about the application areas in which this GIS can be used effectively. Number one, mapping where things are. Below we see a map of Frank sand mine locations and sandstone areas in Wisconsin. So here, using the different color codes, we can able to observe the active mines and the mines are which are in development, and the proposed mines also, as well as their number also, which is been given here. Now there is a portion which is marked with the yellow color here. This portion indicates that the sandstone areas, so that means wherever the deposits of sandstones are found in this particular area, which are being shown here. So this is by referring this particular map, we can able to understand how far the mines located here, as well as what is the potential, so that we can extract the sandstone in the upcoming years. So this is regarding the one of the important application areas of this GIS. Second one is nothing but Mapping the quantities. So below is a map of cemetery locations, that means graveyard locations in Wisconsin again. The map shows the cemetery locations as dots, as you can observe here, the red dots. So the dot density, which indicates that the number of cemetery per area. And each country is color coded here. Each country is color coded to show where the most and least are. Lighter blue means fewer symmetry, and dark blue means it is uh, more symmetries. So this is one of the important again application of this GIS. The next one is nothing but mapping densities. Below we have mapped the population density of India and some other Asian countries. The total population counts normalized by the area in a square kilometer of census tracts. Here in this particular image you can able to observe across this particular area the color codes are different. So that means nothing but these color codes or the change in the or the variation in the color which represents the population density. So population density which is given here, the number of persons per kilometer square which is given, 0 means it is a white in color, 1 to 4 means it is a different color. So 0 to 24, 5 to 24 different color, like that different color codes have been given here so that we can able to visualize the variation across this variation of a population density across this particular area. Now the next one is nothing but finding what is inside. So example, below is a map showing a flood event and the tax parcels. Parcels in the sense the residential plots, or it is nothing but the plots where the construction proposed construction to be taken, and buildings in the floodway. We can use tool like clip to determine which parcel fall inside the flood event. Furthermore, we can use the attributes of the parcel to determine the potential costs of the property damage also. So we can able to predict the damage which was caused in that particular area due to flood event. The next is nothing but finding what is nearby. So below we see a map of times, drive times in the sense the travel times from a central location in the city of Madison, Wisconsin. We can use the streets as a network and add specific criteria like speed limit and intersection controls to determine how far a driver can typically get in 5, 10 or 15 minutes. So this is regarding again another application area of GIS. The next one is nothing but mapping change. So below we see land use maps of Barnstable showing changes in residential development from 1951 to 1999. So if we compare these two images, so the different color scales which is being given here, color codes, indicates that the different surface features like the agricultural area, forest area, wetland, mining, open land, recreational area, residential housing, etc., etc. So we can able to find the different the surface features with the different color codes here. So now if you compare these two images, we will come to know, or that is nothing but we will come to one conclusion, that here the number of residential plots which is being increased in the second image, that is indicated with the yellow color. So here this prediction becomes very much easier with the aid of GIS. So these all indicate or which will help us to understand where exactly we can implement the geographic information system. And coming to the last one, that is nothing but applications of GIS. So as we understood that from the previous slides, so that the various application areas in which the GIS can be used effectively. So the application also are also plenty in number. So number one is nothing but in planning.
So GIS can be used in managing transportation and logistical problems. If transport department is planning to have a new railway line or road, that means highway, then this can be performed by adding environmental and topographical data into the GIS platform. Then we can able to select a best possible route in that particular area. So accident analysis and hotspot analysis. So GIS can be used as a key tool to minimize accident hazard on roads. The existing road network has to be optimized and also the road safety. So we can able to provide the additional features in case of the emergency also nearby if it is required, and we can able to determine where exactly the accident takes place. That is nothing but the hotspots where the more number of accidents takes place in that particular area, and if possible the rerouting is also can be done later. Then the next one is nothing but traffic density studies. So here in the traffic density studies, GIS can be effectively used for the traffic management and the problems related with the traffic. So today's population along with the road traffic is increasing exponentially. The advantage of GIS make it an attractive option to be used to face increased problems related with the more traffic on the road. The next one is nothing but river crossing site selection for bridges. The important geotechnical consideration is the stability of slopes leading down to and up from the water crossing. So in that particular case, so it is advisable to collect historical data on erosion and sedimentation. On the basis of this information, which can assess the amount of river channel contraction, degree of curvature of the river bed, nature of the bed, and bank materials including the flood flow and the flow depth. All this can be done in the GIS within the estimated time and accurately. So this is one of the important application of GIS. Then in the urban planning also, which can be effectively used. So that is nothing but in the infrastructure development as well as the collection of information about the geographic features. This GIS can be used effectively. So we can get the estimate of the land use pattern in the given area, and the potential areas wherein which the development can be proposed or the new infrastructure can be proposed in the upcoming years or in the future. So that also can be estimated, or that also can be interpreted with the help of this analysis. So similarly, some other uses are also indicated here in the surveying, topography survey. With the help of GIS, we can perform environment related applications, site suitability for waste treatment plant, environmental impact assessment, so then natural resource management, snow cover mapping and runoff prediction, coastal vegetation mapping and conservation, disaster management and mitigation, and in the desertification also, which can be effectively used. And again, some of the other application areas which are also mentioned here. GIS in mapping, so geological mapping and soil mapping, which can be used. Irrigation water management, the soil suitability for a dam, wetland mapping, snow cover mapping and runoff prediction, flood damage estimation, and hazard management systems, worldwide earthquake information systems, then volcanic hazard identification, fire equipment response distance analysis, and similarly some other miscellaneous uses are there. The knowledge based system for defense purpose, agricultural applications, navigation, that means routing and scheduling, again tourism information systems, GIS for public health, locating underground pipes and cables. So these are some of the important application areas of GIS. So finally, the GIS is a very powerful tool in determining as well as solving some of the real-time problems
So if we know the concepts of the geographic information systems very well, so then we can able to handle the real time problems, as well as we can able to resolve some of the problems which are related to the real world. Thank you.